All right, so we're going to go over Malthusian theory. Malthusian theory is based off of the ideas of a old British economist named Thomas Malthus. Thomas Malthus, very well known, particularly for his work with population. All right, so when Thomas Malthus was alive, Britain, the country he was from, was experiencing rapid population growth. And he looked around. Charles Darwin's work was important at that time. Charles Darwin was doing a lot of work with animal populations, and he was like, okay, well, look, animal populations, we know that they always go way up, and then they come way down when the animals overeat or whatever the case may be. And there's always some population crash. And he was looking at Britain's population going dramatically up, and figured, well, there's going to be the similar kind of a crash. Malthus thought that the checks on population growth of humans would have to be things like, disasters, plagues, particularly famine if you ate up too much of the food. And he particularly pointed the finger at the finger of blame at the poorer classes, since we all know that poorer countries, poor people in the United States and elsewhere have higher rates of birth than people that are wealthier. And he blamed the poorer classes for this problem. Okay, so the basic kind of conundrum here for Malthus was that food production, which was getting better at the time as different agricultural practices were started, food production increased, but it increased at a steady, flat, linear rate. Okay, linear rate just means like 1 over 1x. It just goes straight in a straight line. But food and production increased, but just at that rate. And as time goes on, the food production just goes steadily up, meaning we, get better practices, use tractors, or bring more land into cultivation that's not being used. So food production increases. But if you look at population does not increase at a linear rate. Population increases eventually at an exponential rate. An exponential rate is increasing at an increasing rate. So it goes up much faster. And of course, this leads to the problem that he was talking about, which was this. Not enough food for the amount of people that you have. Eventually, your population, if it increases at an exponential rate, eventually your population will have too many people to support the amount of food that you have. So that was the issue, basically. So again, food increases at a linear rate, straight line, and population increases at an exponential rate. And that is the problem that Malthus identified. One easy way to remember this, if I ask you on a test or something like, what's Malthusian theory? Well, you'd say, if you've seen the Avengers movies, it's the pretty popular movie. I think it's the highest grossing movie ever. But if you haven't seen it, that, you'll have to remember it some other way. But if you have seen the Avengers movies, it might help you to remember Thanos. Thanos is the bad guy in the Avengers movies. And his basic idea is Malthusian theory. His idea is like, there's too many people in the universe, and you have to kill half the people in the universe with some disaster. In his case, snapping his fingers, killing half the population. Because if you don't, they'll just spread out so much, and they'll use all the resources, and then everyone will die. So rather than half the population, dying, the whole population will die, according to that theory. And that, that's very much similar to Malthusian theory, what Thanos was putting forward. So that's one way you can remember it if you have trouble remembering. A question: was Malthus right? Now, almost everyone thinks that Malthus was right. Adults even think that, yes, the population's out of control and we're all going to die. And it's like, well, not really. A couple of reasons why. Food production has increased at an increasing rate because of genetic modifications. So we've been able to keep up our food production because of genetic modifications and, better fertilizers and all kinds of other important scientific advancements. Our food production has increased faster than he expected. It can't increase forever, but right now it's increasing it's kept up with the world. There are people that starve now, but we have enough food in the world for everyone to be obese. So there is enough food right now. Maybe not in the future, but right now there is. The other thing is that, when we study the demographic transition model, you find out that the population does go up, but as your country develops, like Japan or even the United States, the population starts to level off and then it declines. So Malthus thought the population would go up forever, but we know that the population goes up, but eventually it levels off and declines. Japan has a declining population. Singapore, Germany, Romania, Russia, much of Eastern Europe has a declining population. The U.S. has, without immigration, very close to a declining population. So Malthus was wrong on the food, the food kept up faster, and he was wrong on the people because the people are going to end up going down. So that is basically Malthusian theory in a nutshell.